Hello and welcome everyone. This is Vidashi Das from the CSR Universe, a platform dedicated to discussing the most important aspects of sustainability and corporate social responsibility. I'm joined by my colleague Ruchika Kumar, editor, the CSR Universe. Today, we are here for another riveting interaction with Dr. Nidhi Pundhir, Vice President Global CSR HCLTech and Director HCLFoundation, where she leads the global CSR agenda. Dr. Pundhir comes with 25 years of experience in human rights and environmental action at both the national and international level. She was previously the Director of Program Development Asia with the SOS Children's Village and a global advisor at Child Protection and Development at Plan International Headquarters. She's here today with us to discuss about the HCLTech Grant. Just a short background about the HCLTech Grant before we get started. The HCLTech Grant was started in 2015 as a CSR commitment by HCLTech. The grant is designed to support breakthrough award-winning projects of NGOs in three categories: environment, health, and education. In India itself, the grant has committed 146.95 crores to CSR. And now it has moved towards the Americas, where it is enabling NPOs in the Americas. And it has committed $5 million over the next 5 years. Dr. Pundhir, great to have you here. Let's start with the discussion. A quick look at the HCLTech Grant history reveals quite a fascinating journey of your CSR from India to the Americas. Could you elaborate more about the direction of the HCL grant towards the Americas? And second part of the question being, do you have any plans to expand the grant towards regions like, Southeast Asia?
Thank you so much. And once again, thanks the CSR Universe for having me with you. And it's always a delight to, interact with all of you. And you seem to be providing a lot of data, information, and useful guidance to the sector, which is much respected and much needed. I think you covered the journey of Grant quite well, and thanks for that. I must first reflect upon that this is the 10th year of the grant in India. So HCLTech Grant in India itself, we've recently launched our 10th edition. The portal is live now, and over all these years, I think we've had multiple NGOs applying for it, several government partnerships. Most of the databases carry the information around the HCLTech Grant, and I think it is one of the most coveted CSR grants in the sector. The beauty of HCLTech India Grant is that it is very independent, an extremely robust methodology. It is run in a highly professional manner, very much at the international standards, and at times higher than that, because we also have CSR India standards to the grant. So it is very much within the purview of the national CSR law. This year, good news is that there is more relaxation for health and education category NGOs in the eligibility criteria. And I really want our friends from NGOs who have been showing all the love and affection towards the grant and have been consistently applying. First of all, sincere appreciations for all their team members and leadership who actually guide such a methodical process and the application through that process. We fully understand it's not easy, but we also know that it helps them introspect at an organizational level. It also helps them introspect at the impact level, because we do ask for proof of concept. We not only ask for it, we also have subject matter experts who work with the NGOs to understand and to be able to validate the proof of concept of the previous work. That is not to discourage the young entries, but even if you are 5 years old NGO and there has been work on ground, and even if it's not related to the project that you've applied, one can always show the other pieces of work and have a lot of discussion with the teams that travel on ground to work with you and to understand the kind of impact that you and your teams are making. This year, education and health categories, the criteria for entry into the competition has been relaxed to 50 lakhs annual budget over last 3 years, and that's an average of last 3 years from a crore. So a lot of requests used to come to HCLTech Grant each year that a crore is too much, and for environment we had already relaxed it with a clear understanding that we have much younger and small budget organizations in the country who work in the environment sector. Education and health, and India has the longest history of having NGOs, the non-government sector, working freely on the ground. 1 crore we assumed would have been a good criteria to have best of the checks and controls in place to be able to absorb a 5 crore grant. That was the only reason, because the grant size is also 5 crore eventually if we happen to win the grant. But then our experience in environment sector with 50 lakh average budget organizations has been very decent, and basis the passion, highest standard of governance, highest standards of HR performance, documentation, audit reports. We went back to our board and requested that same criteria be applied to education and health organizations. And I'm so happy to inform that the CSR committee of HCL Tech has approved that, and you must be reading that on the portal. So we welcome all organizations to register now. I would also want to make a mention that registration is independent of you actually writing the abstract. The moment you register, you are a part of a very big database and you start receiving information around all other opportunities that HCL Foundation has. So HCL grant is one opportunity. There are other programs, for example, one of our biggest rural development programs, HCL Samuday, which also seeks partnerships in the areas of agriculture, livelihood, education, and, health, importantly. We have Uday, which also is present across all cities where HCL Tech has presence, and they also seek partnerships, although urban development partnerships, but nobody prohibits organizations working in rural areas to come to urban or vice versa. There's another program called HCL Harit, HCL Tech Harit, which is working on environmental conservation on the contours of biodiversity, afforestation, water, and so on, and animal welfare. They also seek partnerships. And then we have special initiatives with artisans under the banner of My Heart, Samudaya Craft. We also have Sports for Change. We have, our HCL Foundation Academy. Many of you come for courses to the HCL Foundation Academy. All the opportunities that we create on these various forums, which include funding opportunities in many cases, are then broadcasted to all the organizations which register for HCL Tech Grant. Also, at times, other corporates come seeking the database of NGOs. Government comes. One classic example is that the entire database with government ministries come to us. A lot of them come to us seeking the database, and with your consent, which we take as a part of the registration, we do share with them, and they then are able to reach out to you directly with the opportunity. So it's a great opportunity for our friends from the NGOs to come forward and register. The next stage, immediately after you register, you can start writing your abstracts. As a research person, I always advise, if you have a thought, if you have an idea, just write your abstract. It helps, irrespective whether you get to application stage, you get to, win the grant, be a part of a funding opportunity. Abstract is a great place where you can bring all your thoughts together into something that can be actioned by you in future. HCLTech Grant provides you that opportunity. Once you submit the abstracts, you will move to the next stage if selected, to applications and then the field visits. If you do happen to get to the field visit stage, it's amazing opportunity for you to be able to co-create your ideas with the subject matter experts who will visit you Our teams travel almost more than 18 to 19 to 20 states per year, doing the field level validation, understanding your work, interacting with the communities, pictures on ground. It's extremely enriching exercise that happens. And then if you do get to the sub-jury stage, obviously you're a part of the one of the biggest compendium, which we publish each year and distribute, disseminate globally. That invites a lot of funding attention from several donors. And then, of course, you reach the finalist, the jury stage, where, of course, the competition gets extremely tough, and then jury picks the HCL grant recipient. The runner-ups also receive grant of 25 lakhs each for a one-year project, as compared to 4 years project, 5 crore grant in 3 specific categories of education, health, and environment. That's India Grant, and imagine 10 years, we've been doing it exactly at the same time of the year, exactly 250 days on ground, same team, with same consistency, but more passion each year. We come out, we meet, we talk to so many NGO friends and individuals and philanthropists, government counterparts. There'll be symposiums on ground, another opportunity which will come out very soon, physical symposiums. You can meet our teams, you can meet us and understand more about us. And those would be 10 distinct physical spaces created in 10 different states. So again, you will hear a lot of information from us, where teams will pack their bags and be traveling all over and be hosted under the, I would say, with the best of the academic institutions. We've gone to SPGen, we've gone to IIMs, we've gone to XIMB, we've gone to, so you can look at the history, but then that's where we meet. Almost 2 to 3,000 participants come each year to these symposiums, and I find it as one of the most exciting times of the year, and we look forward to it. So we will be out soon meeting many of you. And symposiums are not just focused on the application. Symposiums bring together a lot of intersectoral debate, localized conversations, solutions to the problems, indigenous solutions to the problems, broadcasting the kind of social security benefits and the environmental schemes which are there on ground, leveraging, bringing together various stakeholders that must and who ought to work together in order to achieve the Niti Aayog indicators, the nation building indicators that lie ahead of us, and the 2030 agenda, which is very near now, and HCLTech Grant has been a great contributor in that sense. Your question was Americas.
Yes, like why the Americas, and why not extend it to, if you have any plans to extend it towards Southeast Asia?
Well, for now, it's Americas. Future, we will come back to you, but for now, it's Americas. Of course, there's a lot of demand from Southeast Asia. There's a lot of demand from Europe, Australia, to have a similar grant. But then one clear reason for Americas is that HCLTech is a global company, and a lot of our customers are from that belt. So it's entire Americas region. It's just not, I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
The first recipient of the Americas grant came from Brazil, Arguilando. It's a voluntary-based organization, and they work on creating awareness as well as actioning climate action across all biomes, and led citizens collective, as we call it. The second grant has gone to, the second and the third have, not second and the third, but 2 runner-ups have gone to, one to Longleaf Alliance in US, which is working on conservation of pine areas. And the other one has gone to Number 9 in Canada, which is an academic organization working with young people around best models of ESG and sustainability, and educating students on, or rather preparing them for climate action. America's reason is very clear, as I told you, but we have presence in 60 countries, and we would rather want to have grant in each country per day, per
The HCL grant, you mean you don't have a presence beyond the Americas and India as of now, right?
Tech as a company has a presence in 60 countries. The grant
Hmm.
exists.
Hmm.
Yeah, and last year we launched it in Americas region in 10 countries.
Hmm. Okay.
We may expand, but I think let's go step by step.
That's
The other reason I must tell you the Americas region is that the kind of climate action crisis and the kind of different I would say solutions which are being experimented in that belt. Of course, that is also happening in Southeast Asia, but since it is a climate action grant, we thought let's start there first. Let's prototype it. So we are very much in
yeah.
the prototyping stage, and we will continue to do so. We will India only after doing it for 10 years we have expanded. So let's wait. Americas is just 1 year.
That,
Because each global and each country's legal landscape is quite different. It takes a lot of R&D before we get into any country. The aid sector operates very differently in different countries.
yeah.
Good to
Of
just
course.
do one thing, learn from there, and then move to the next.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Pundhir. My second question is, how do you evaluate the effectiveness and impact of the funds you allocate to the NGOs for climate-related initiatives specifically? Because that is what the conversation is around right now a lot. In the sense that, what are your key performance indicators or metrics that you can use for your assessments to say that you are given so and so grant to this organization? How are they effectively using it?
Of course, these are all projects which are selected after, and impact measurement matrices as defined are one of the most critical criteria when we select a particular project for the grant fund. So it will vary from one climate action to another. So it's very important for us to understand how do we approach climate action for our grants.
Yes.
And we have definitely kept our focus on nature-based solutions, on biodiversity, on native understanding of the biomes, on collective action by the local communities to be able to not only conserve their biomes, but to be able to rather invest in building back what can be built back. And we've focused on resilience, mitigation, and adaptation. I mean, those are three very different, distinct contours, so as to say, of climate action. So if you were to divide the entire climate action work, it would fall into these three somewhere. And a good climate action work might be a combination of these three. So when we also invited applications in the Americas region from all countries, we saw that adaptation has really taken a larger pie, and of course there's a need to rebuild. It's very difficult to rebuild environment once you've lost nature and once you've polluted your air and once we have thrown enough plastic in the mud, etc.
Absolutely.
And the blue and the green and the brown needs to be restored. That is where our focus is. We are not into the bigger, like, for example, if you look at, the industrial side. Industrial side is taken care of by our ESG and the HCLTech in-house
Yes.
ESG, action, which is also very good. But this is more focused on community action and nature-based solutions. So one really needs to define the indicators. It can be a small urban forest with X number of saplings, which will survive 80%, have to be native species, have to be indigenous species. Look
Right.
fast. If it is a water body, we actually measure the surface water runoff harvested by that water body. And there are experts, there are external agencies. If we talk about HCL today, we have HCL Tech, we have harvested 76 billion liters of water on a cumulative count, and that makes the group more than 20 times, as the ESG experts put it, water positive. But for us, it essentially means that each pond has beautiful water biodiversity. It's revived, it has blue water, it has aquatic and avian biodiversity. It has way cleaner air around because you need both greenery and water for clean air. The water level in the surrounding areas is way better. And of course it's aesthetically way more beautiful than. So we have ponds, I mean, if in India, or what the work that we are now beginning in Americas, all of that is very visible and tangible impact eventually within 3 to 5 time. Uh, then there are different models like spring conservation, community action by leveraging the village development plans which are built at the panchayat level, that are we able to divert the agenda of the panchayat towards environmental conservation. For example, there is hectares of land that we have been able to bring under community green governance, as we call it, which means community themselves budgeting for it and community themselves being responsible and taking care. Of course, there are other things like, elephant corridors that will have measurable indicator. How much corridor have we developed? That is 5 years. You cannot measure the population of elephants, but what you can measure is, have you rebuilt the corridor which was lost? CLART is another, like, have we been using technology to measure where the water body should be and where the water body should be mapped? Mapped multiple water bodies, and we have them good case studies from Noida, where we've got like almost 1,000 water bodies mapped into the revenue records, which means that they are now marked as water bodies. And the same models are applied under grants. Sahas is our great partner in Kerala, where they are cleaning the coasts and bringing plastic out of it. So you can actually measure it in tons.
Okay. So basically you have micro indicators of
Macro, and then what happens after the project is gone.
Yes.
How many districts have adopted the model? Is it part of the government policy? So there is robust matrix, and there is a team. I mean, HCLFoundation has close to 400 people, and we have subject matter experts. Grant has great partners and their teams on ground, and they are all subject matter experts. So matrices are defined way early, way before we get to ground.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Pundhir. Thanks to regulatory, I think Ruchika here has a question.
Yes,
I want to ask your question now.
Yeah. My question is slightly different. Dr. Nidhi Pundhir, it's based on your experience actually. So since now the grant is being made available to the Americas, have you found, and of course, India is the only country which has a mandatory CSR in place, and other countries are not obliged to follow any kind of social or environmental obligation. So in your experience, has there been any stark differences or even similarities between the stakeholders in the development sector vis-a-vis India?
Absolutely. I think that's a good question. First of all, I want to make that very clear that the India grant that we have is under the national CSR law. So
Right.
the funding that goes in India.
Right.
The that we have in Americas is part of our HCLTech, the main company, core company. So the executive officer in that case is the CEO of the company, C. Vijay Kumar. So the source is very different of funds, and there's no of funds there. In terms of the fraternity that would apply or that applies for the grant, we have seen major similarities within India, or let's say our friends from Canada and Brazil or Argentina, Peru or Panama, all the countries where the grant announcement went and eventually the grant has gone out to. Rather, looking at it very closely, NGOs are in a better position in India, I can say. I
Mhm.
can say that after looking at the data. So we've been evaluating the financial health of organizations in certain countries, and of course, 10 countries in Americas are also very different. So each will not compare with each.
Hmm.
Uh, During COVID times, there has been a great amount of loss to the environment section. So we've seen their financial health decline, which happened in India also. For environment,
Yes.
health was different. Environment, climate action, different. So financial health was something which actually kept few organizations from getting into the core list of 10, which also meant the capability to be able to raise funds and sustain the funding for a very long time. And that is true, I would say, in many cases in India also.
Yes.
The consistency of HR is another thing, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it is all human-led effort,
Hmm.
like a corporate or a machine world. We are led by people, and we are so wherever the organization has stability in their staff, the
Hmm.
chances of being able to sustain their funding is also high, and their chances of, and that similarity we see in Indian landscape as well as in the American landscape. In US particular, of course, you have slightly higher level of legal mechanisms.
Okay.
Taxation also, taxation environment is also different country to country, and we need to understand that before we
Hmm.
deploy grant.
Hmm.
Passion, commitment, the type of fraternity, the skill set of people who are joining the sector very much remains same. So I think the world is one on climate action.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your inputs. Yes, Veda, over to you.
Since it's almost time, I'll ask my last question, Dr. Pundhir. Thanks to regulatory compliance by more companies nowadays, the CSR donor base has actually increased in the last few years. However, like as I was reading a couple of days back, Bain and Company released its Indian Philanthropy Report 2024. While the fundings for, let's say, environment and sustainability, the E and S of ESG, they have increased. For the social factor, marked by just gender, the jump in a gender equality of 0.5%, there hasn't it hasn't received its due attention, I feel. Okay. So why do you think this is the case, and how does the social aspect of ESG feature in your foundation's agenda?
Right. So I guess these are different matrices which keep changing each year. So, but
Yes.
I would rather say that foundation, first of all, is 100% social. I mean, we came into being just because this is the social part of the social responsibility part of the corporate. And not just the corporate, but the larger. So if we understand social sciences well enough, I mean, what are we talking about? We are talking about upliftment, we are talking about poverty alleviation, we are talking about reaching the unreached, we are talking about people who are unable to harness or unable to reach any opportunities because of certain discriminating factors, vulnerability scales, etc. So I think I would rather say that 100% of our funding is on social upliftment. And if we talk about environment, of course, that is also because everybody is environmentally poor. I mean, that is where the poverty matrix also changed. Today, as of today, we are not drinking safe water, we are not breathing safe air, we're not eating uh, unpolluted food. So everybody's environmentally poor. So it is again
Yes.
the social dimensions of human race, one other. So I would challenge that data analysis, actually, that social isn't getting attention. It's social which is getting attention, and as a result, everything else is getting attention. The environmental action, the E and G part of it, of course, governance has to be of the highest possible standard. Then otherwise you cannot do E or you cannot do S. So there's no question. We have to invest in the qualified resources, be they be from finance and legal and audit and HR and so on and so forth. You really need to back yourself up with a great institutional mechanism to be able to deliver the CSR agenda as much as in a business setting or a corporate where you have a P&L. In our case, P&L is ROI, because this and the return on investment is how beautiful and how powerful your impact is. And we'll not be able to achieve that impact without highest quality standards, highest standards of measuring process as well as output and outcome and impact. And if you look at the social, if you unpack it, the gender lens and the people living with disabilities and the inclusion, larger inclusion, as well as how well your needs assessments are defined, how well you have done your situation assessment, where is the money going eventually? CSR funds are meant for a particular segment and for a reason. They're not meant for broadcasting your logo in different events. They're actually meant for people and planet and to uplift certain segments who've been deprived due to certain reasons. Which would mean that one would need to travel far-flung, but one would need to be with the communities, co-create participatory approaches, PRAs. So far, I haven't seen a dip there. Rather, it is increasing. The nature of funding may have shifted.
Thanks, Dr. Pundhir. Rightfully said. That should be all. Thank you so much for joining us today for this very meaningful discussion. We wish you our best. We wish our best to the HCL Foundation to continue with its phenomenal work, and we look forward to interacting with you again in the future. Thank you so much, Dr. Pundhir.
So much, the CSRUniverse team, and wish you the very best. Thanks.
Thank you.